today we're going to use Slab to fix some cracking in the concrete here. In this neighborhood, there has been quite a bit of damage from stuff like this, where water gets in here and it freezes in the winter, and then it thaws and freezes and thaws, and it can actually push the concrete pad up. And so quite a few folks in the neighborhood have had to actually have their steps completely torn out and redone. So we're going to try to prevent that for this homeowner by sealing this gap. So the first thing I'm going to do is just make sure it's clean, right? I want to have a really nice clean surface. Make sure that there's no loose pieces. Trying to make sure I have the concrete back here. Okay. So a lot of times I don't use tape for my sealant jobs because I think I can do just as decent of a job tooling it by hand as I can with tape. But for something like this, I kind of want it to just look like, one stripe rather than following the jaggedness of the concrete cracking here. So I am going to tape it really just to kind of keep it straight more than anything else. Now, I'm not so worried about the top here. All of my cracking is in the bottom, not so much the top. So I'll put down a piece basically to make this highest point the top of my line. At this point, I'm ready for some sealant. Now you might be asking yourself, should you put backer rod in there? There's probably two spots right here and right here where it's not a bad idea to put some backer rod. The rest of it is pretty thin. So for the purposes of today, I'm not going to worry about it. If the whole gap looked like this, I would make sure I put backer rod in there. I typically just use a nail to pop the foil for that, and we can go to work. Slab does take a bit to dry, which is why I'm doing this on a nice warm day, but it's also very flexible, so it should last much longer than other products that you have to replace every season. We will go back and get the edges in a second. Okay, so for this giant gap, I'm going to do both edges. That filled in pretty nicely. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to come around on this corner here. It might be hard to see, but there is some cracking right here as well. And I'm going to seal this on this side. Now here it was pretty straight, so I didn't use the tape at all. Felt good without it. Okay, at this point, functionally we're good. I think that, Slab is close enough that we could just leave it like this. I am just going to kind of, for aesthetic purposes, go back and put just a little bit more in here, just to kind of try to make it look the way I want. Okay, now I'm going to do the other outside edge. I'm just putting a little product down so that it's going to look like one giant line sealant. At this point, we're to the tooling stage of the game. And I like to just tool by hand. There are different tools that you can use. And certainly if it was, a flat rather than an edge like this, that would be fine. But for something like this, I'm just going to do it by hand. So there's a couple things that I'm going to work on while I'm tooling. And I'm just spraying water into it. One is I'm making sure that I'm pushing the sealant into the crack. And then the other one is I'm flattening out my kind of, aesthetic product. I want that to look good and flat. At this point, I am kind of doing the rough version because I'm going to go back once I pull the tape off. So you can see I've got it fairly smooth down there, but I'm not worried about getting it perfect for what I'm doing right now because I'm going to go back over it anyhow. This is a nice application to keep in mind. It's not one that's typically a really high priority because we're used to cracks in our concrete. But right next to the home here, if we can prevent all that separation, we'll have a happier homeowner. They don't have to shell out for the repair that all the neighbors had to do. Now right here at the edge, I probably should have put a little bit more product in that corner. I'm going to go ahead and pull the tape now because if I don't, then I might not be able to see what I'm working with in that corner. Okay, you can see that looks really quite nice already. Now I'm going to go back and put some of the finishing touches on it. Whenever you pull the tape, you can get some corners, right? So if you see this little ridge right here, that's the kind of stuff I just want to knock down. Make it look really nice and smooth. It is concrete, so I'm going quite a bit faster than I would if this was a interior application where I was really trying to make it look seamless. We don't need that. But we can still make it blend in a little nicer. And you can see how little product is on my finger at this point. I'm really not tooling it into the joint. I'm just smoothing it. So my motion is really to just kind of glide across the top of the bead here. We got down into the bead before to make sure that we pushed it into the joint. And when you feel your fingers start to kind of pull on the sealant, that tells you time to put more water on it. Slab's pretty easy to tool even without the water, but the water makes it so easy. You can see how I'm just kind of gliding over this. I am pushing it into the joint more, you can see that. And now I'll do the smooth coat. So there you have it. A repaired joint. This is going to need to dry for a couple days, but in a corner like this, no one should really be walking on it. If it was out in the middle of the driveway instead of in a corner, I would probably grab, a sheet of plywood or something just to put over it, just to protect it. But on a bright and sunny day like today, it'll be good to go. So this is not quite dry, but it looks quite nice.